We're watching this. I'll catch up on work, okay?
Just want to start by saying we had a meeting yesterday on the Department of Education, which is being moved. We're going to educate the children in their states where they can get a proper education. The numbers are horrible the way it is, and we're going to make a move that's very big. I don't think it's even risky a little bit. I think it's going to be amazing. It should have been done years ago. They've been talking about doing it for many years, but nobody ever got it off. But we did. And there was great excitement and great acceptance of it by almost everybody, including a lot of Democrats, actually. I do want to say that I've decided that the SBA, the Small Business Administration, headed by Kelly Loeffler, is a terrific person, will handle all of the student loan portfolio. We have a portfolio that's very large, lots of loans, tens of thousands of loans, pretty complicated deal. And that's coming out of the Department of Education immediately, and it's going to be headed up by Kelly Loeffler at SBA, and they're all set for it. They're waiting for it. It'll be serviced much better than it has in the past. It's been a mess. And also, Bobby Kennedy, the Health and Human Services, will be handling special needs and all of the nutrition programs and everything else. Rather complex, but that's going to be headed by and
That's not the Epstein picture, right? No, it's not. Fuck off. Look at the Epstein picture right next to it. That's not that. You're wrong. Fuck out of here.
handled by Health and Human Services. So I think that'll work out very well. Those two elements will be taken out of the Department of Education, and then all we have to do is get the students to get guidance from the people that love them and cherish them, including their parents, by the way, who will be totally involved in their education along with the boards and the governors and the states. And it's going to be a great situation. I guarantee that in a few years from now, I hope I'm going to be around to see it, but I think we're going to see a lot of it. I think that you're going to have tremendous results. You're going to have results like Norway, Sweden, Denmark, a lot of the countries that do so well. I think you're going to have a lot of those results. If you look at
all places famously known for underfunding their education.
Iowa and Indiana and Idaho, so many places that run so well. Florida, Texas, big ones. And you're going to have great education, much better than it is now at half the cost. And we're not even doing it as a cost item, although you will save probably half, maybe more than that. And you're not going to be at the bottom of the list. You're going to be much higher, and maybe you'll be, I will guarantee some of the states will be at the top of the list. They'll be comparable or better than these number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 countries, the countries that are in the top 5 positions. So that's, to me, it's very exciting, and it's been received very well. So I just wanted to tell you about the student loans and special needs. But we're here for a reason today that is very exciting, and I'm thrilled to announce that at my direction, the United States Air Force is moving forward with the world's first 6th generation fighter jet. Number 6, 6th generation. Nothing in the world comes even close to it. And it'll be known as the F-47. The generals picked a title.
Lie.
And it's a beautiful number, F-47. It's something the likes of which nobody has seen before in terms of all of the attributes of a fighter jet. There's never been anything even close to it, from speed to maneuverability to what it can have to payload. And this has been in the works for a long period of time. After a rigorous and thorough competition between some of America's top aerospace companies, the Air Force is going to be awarding the contract for the next generation air dominance platform to Boeing. As you know, was highly competed for. There was a lot of competition, generals, and it's been going on for a long time. Very, very tough competition, but this plane is produced numbers that nobody's ever seen before. The F-47 will be the most advanced, most capable, most lethal aircraft ever built. An experimental version of the plane has secretly been flying for almost 5 years, and we're confident that it massively overpowers the capabilities of any other nation. There's no other nation. We know every other plane. I've seen every one of them, and it's not even close. This is a next level. You know, level 5 is good. This is level 6, they say. The F-47 is equipped with state-of-the-art stealth technology. It's virtually unseeable and unprecedented power. It's got the most power of any jet of its kind ever made. Maneuverability, likewise, is there's never been anything like it, despite the power and speed. Its speed is top. It's over 2, which is something that you don't hear very often. America's enemies will never see it coming. Hopefully we won't have to use it for that purpose, but you have to have it. And if it ever happens, they won't know what the hell hit them. A new fleet of these magnificent planes will be built in the air during my administration for the next couple of years. It's ready to go. They've already built much of what has to be built in terms of production, including the sheds. We'll ensure that the USA continues to dominate the skies. We've given an order for a lot. We can't tell you the price because it would give way to some of the technology and some of the size of the plane, good sized plane. This contract also represents a historic investment in our defense industrial base, helping to keep America at the cutting edge of aerospace and technology. Our allies are calling constantly. They want to buy them also, and certain allies will be selling them, perhaps toned down versions. We like to tone them down about 10%, which probably makes sense because someday maybe they're not our allies, right? But I would like to ask Secretary Hegseth, who's doing a fantastic job. He's really been very inspiring in so many ways, and I must say that before he speaks, we have had record people wanting to join our military in the last 2.5 months, literally since this, I think probably since the election, November 5th, but especially since we came to office and since I announced Pete. He's young, he's smart, he's strong, he loves it, and they love him, but we've had record numbers of people wanting to join our military. Now, if you go back 6 months, it was the exact opposite. You had record numbers of people not wanting to join the military. Now you have record numbers of people wanting to be in our military, and that's a great honor. That shows you we're really on the right track. So, Pete, maybe say a few words.
Sure.
Please.
Well, Mr. President, this is a big day. This is a big day for our warfighters. This is a big day for our country, a big day in the world. The name of this program is the Next Generation of Air Dominance. And Mr. President, because of your leadership, your clarity, we are going to America.
His jacket's a little bit too small, right? When you see this, like the crowding or the tugging at the button here, it's not sized correctly, right? Is that what that means?
America is going to have a generations in the future of air dominance because of this 6th generation
Air
fighter.
dominance.
We've had the F-15, we had the F-16, the F-18, the F-22, the F-35. Now we have the F-47, which sends a very direct, clear message to our allies that we're not going anywhere, and to our enemies that we will be able to project power around the globe unimpeded for generations to come. Mr. President, this is a gift to my kids and your kids, to my grandkids and your grandkids. This is a historic investment in the American military, in the American industrial base, in American industry that will help revive the warrior ethos inside our military, which we're doing, rebuild our military, which the previous administration did not do, by the way, Mr. President. They paused this program and were prepared to potentially scrap it. We know this is cheaper, longer range, and more stealthy. President Trump said we're reviving it and we're doing it. And then we are also going to reestablish deterrence. Under the previous administration, we looked like fools. Not anymore. President Trump has reestablished American leadership. The F-47 is part of it. And Mr. President, thank you for having the courage to do it and leading the way for all our warfighters.
Thank you very much, Pete. One of the things I will say, but the generals are going to speak in just a couple of seconds, but this plane flies with drones. It flies with many, many drones, as many as you want. And it's a technology that's new, but it doesn't fly by itself. It flies with many drones, as many as we want, and that's something that no other plane can do. So I'd like to introduce, if I might, Air Force Chief of Staff General David Alvin, and also General Dale White, two incredible people that I've known over the years, but I got to know them really well over the last few months. And would you say a few words, please, General?
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Mr. President, Mr. Secretary, thank you so much for your unwavering commitment to our...
Something isn't, there's a mic that's not, it doesn't have a shock mount or something. There's a lot of rumble. Unless it's the F-47 is flying over the Oval Office right now.
Mr. Secretary, thank you so much for your unwavering commitment to our military. I will say that this is a big day. This is a big day for our United States Air Force as well. You know, air dominance is not a birthright, but it's become synonymous with...
What? I hate these people. You think that was intentional, the birthright thing? I don't trust anything. I feel like so much of this shit is intentional. Did you see the additional measures to combat anti-Semitism? Executive Order 14-188. Like, this isn't an accident, right? Sorry, I hate these people.
With American air power. But air dominance needs to be earned every single day. And since the earliest days of aerial warfare, brave American airmen have jumped into their machines, taken to the air, and they've cleared the skies. And whether that be clearing the skies so we can rain down destruction on our enemies from above, or we can clear the path for the ground forces below. That's been our commitment to the fight, and that's really been our promise to America. And with this F-47 as the crown jewel in the next generation air dominance family of systems, we're going to be able to keep that promise well into the future. I also want to thank everyone from industry and within government, our engineers, who have worked tirelessly on this program to bring it where we are right now today. This shows that American talent, American skill, and American determination are second to none, because this platform is second to none. So we believe that this provides more lethality, it provides more capability, more modernized capability in a way that is built to adapt. This, along with our collaborative combat aircraft the President talked about with drones, this is allowing us to look into the future and unlock the magic that is human-machine teaming. And as we do that, we're going to write the next generation of modern aerial warfare with this. This enables us to do this. The manner in which we put this program together puts more control in the hands of the government, so we can update and adapt at the speed of relevance, at the speed of technology, not at the speed of bureaucracy. This is more Air Force. This is more options for the President. We say as our mission in the United States Air Force is to fly, fight, and win air power anytime, anywhere. If you want to go anywhere, you have to have a platform that gets you anywhere. This provides the President options from the very one end, which is a quick response, and then we can get right back into fighting stance without having to deploy troops that are going to take maybe months and cost more lives. We can be back in fighting stance, and maybe we restore that deterrence. All the way to decisive victory as part of a joint...
What is he talking about? What? Where? Takes months to... I'm half listening. I don't care. Never mind. Let me do my emails.
Force that is the most lethal and capable military ever known in history. That's what we provide now, and this allows us to provide it into the future. It's more deterrence, more capability. It's what peace through strength looks like into the future, Mr. President. And so we're very proud to do that. And all we can say is, on behalf of the United States Air Force, let's deliver.
Thank you very much. Thank you, General. Would you like to say something?
No, sir, I'll just double check what the chief said.
He knows what to do.
Generational
He knows who the boss is. Look
That's
at
exactly
that.
right. Air security is what it's all about, and this is what we'll deliver.
That's great. Thank you very much. Great job. We've worked together long and hard on this, and this was a big secret. In fact, we don't show too much of the plane for that reason. See what we show? You see how beautiful that is, but that's just a very small part of it.
Sure.
I wasn't surprised. I was wondering how much are you going to show when they came in with that. You see a wheel in the front? That's about it. Any questions?
Mr. President Trump,
Peter?
is 80,000 pages of documents is a lot to sift through.
Yeah.
Can you just tell us who killed Kennedy?
Well, I was given the task of releasing that because many presidents have gone through it and they haven't released. And I said, release. We even released Social Security numbers. I didn't want anything deleted. They said, sir, what about Social Security? People long gone, but they're long gone, so I can't imagine. But I said, if you don't delete it, if you do delete it, we have people are going to say, why did you delete it? There's something in there. So we gave Social Security, we gave everything. And the rest is for you to look at, Peter. You're going to see whether or not you see anything. But we've given it. We're doing it with Dr. Martin Luther King, too. They're preparing all of that. They're going to release everything. And whoever else they want. I mean, you know, we have nothing. We really have nothing to hide. We shouldn't have. You know, when a lot of time goes by. But with the Kennedy files, in particular, they were going crazy on them. I don't think there's anything that's earth-shattering, but you'll have to make that determination. In those,
no
you know, it's 80,000. It's actually 88,000, and we have some additional things, as you know, come out today. And for that, you can go to the offices and you can see whatever you want to see. Everything is out there, totally open. The additional stuff is available later on today. You go over to the offices and you can have it immediately, and you'll make a determination.
And on something else, these Tren de Aragua guys, because of
Okay, sorry. Hold on. Done with this. Or actually, wait.
your executive order, they are designated as foreign terrorists.
Yeah.
If ISIS or Al-Qaeda foreign terrorists were operating here in the United States, cops would probably be shooting first and asking questions later. And so what is the difference between terrorists, between somebody like an ISIS or an Al-Qaeda operative versus a...
No. That's not how that works. What do you mean shooting first and asking questions later? No, that's actually, believe it or not, that's not how the criminal justice process works in the United States of America. What the fuck are you talking about? What?
MS-13 or Tren de Aragua.
Well, these are people that focus on destroying people in their homes. They're not as international in that sense. They're a group of thugs. They come from Venezuela. They come from the prisons of Venezuela. They're very, very dangerous people, but they didn't look so dangerous when the guards took care of the situation from El Salvador. And I want to thank the president. He's a friend of mine. He's done a great job. But I just can't imagine that the Democrats are taking this issue where they want to have them back. You know, so now they have men playing in women's sports. They have transgender for everyone. They have open borders. They have all of their crazy policies that are...
He talks like such an old person. Like when your grandma is like, hey, are you on the Facebook? Or bring your Game Boy over here or whatever. Like, they're giving transgender for everyone. What do you, hello? What?
They have transgender for everyone. They have
Like, are you English second language or what's going on here?
open borders. They have all of their crazy policies that are, I think, 95-5, not 90-10, okay? And their new policy is, let's bring Tren de Aragua back into our country. Let's bring the worst, these are the worst gang members there are. They looked amazingly frail, though. By the way they were handled. It's very amazing. You know, they weren't, when they were in Colorado cutting the fingers off a man because he made a phone call to the police, they seemed a lot tougher then than they did when they were having their head shaved and they were in shackles. They're tough people. They're bad people. We don't want them in our country. We can't let a judge say that he wants them. You know, he didn't run for president. He didn't get much more than 80 million votes.
Did we get the, I don't remember if I read this on my own time or if it was something else I read. The Federalist paper, was it a political paper on, I've talked about this a few times on stream, that the nice thing about a parliamentary system is you have a single public mandate that exists for power in the government. The parliament exists to serve the will of the voters, right? And then your prime minister is somebody who's selected from the parliament. So the prime minister is going to more or less fall in line with the party. There are countries that elect presidents as well, like we do, although I don't have a list of all their powers in front of me, but I don't think that most presidents that most countries that elect their presidents, I don't believe their presidents usually have as much power as our president does. So there's like a weird democratic conflict here that Trump has been heavily abusing, and it's one of the biggest arguments against electing a president, is that you could have dueling public mandates between your president and your Congress, is, yeah, very not good.
And we just can't let that happen. It'd be so bad for our country. I won on the basis of getting criminals out of our country that were let in. It was called unforced error. They were let in by Biden, incompetently let in, and let in by the millions, actually. 21 million people, I believe it's 21 million. And that's not even including the gotaways, but these are rough people. We want them out of our country. And I won the election based at least partly on that, and that's a big part, yeah?
And I don't know if you
Mr. President, there's something
totally different.
several families.
I don't know if you saw this. Tim Walz is now saying about Trump supporters, and forgive me, I'm just reading a quote from Tim Walz. I think I could kick most of their ass.
Oh boy, he'd be in trouble.
Is there any way to know? I think I could kick most of their ass.
Oh boy, he'd be in trouble.
Is there any way to know?
Well, he's a loser, yeah, I mean, the guy's a loser. He lost an election. He played a part. You know, usually a vice president doesn't play a part, they say. I think Tim played a part. I think he was so bad that he hurt her. But she hurt herself, and Joe...
Just a reminder, in case you haven't been tuned into political news for a while, the presidential election has been over for several months now. I don't know why he still talks about it. I do know. But I mean, you won, little bro. We can move on, okay? We don't have anything to worry about. Kamala and Walz aren't coming for you.
Heard them both. They didn't have a great group, but I would probably put him at the bottom of the group.
Have you heard that Biden
Mr.
wants to get
President.
back involved for
Mr.
Democratic
President.
politicians, fundraising and campaigning against your policies? What do you think of that?
I hope so.
Mr. President, there are several families. Mr. President, there are families
Who
from
you-
some of the
who you
people.
with?
I'm with La Nación newspaper from Argentina. There are families from some of the people that were on those flights to El Salvador that claim that they're not criminals, they're not members of Tren de Agua, of MS-13. What can you tell them, and what guarantees can you give them that everyone in those planes were actual criminals, terrorists, as you said?
Well, you see, fuck you. Get this guy the fuck out of here. Get him out of here.
I was told that they went through a very strong vetting process.
Oh, you were told some vague bullshit. Oh.
And that will also be continuing in El Salvador. And if there's anything like that, we would certainly want to find out. But these were a bad group. This was a bad group, and they were in bad areas, and they were with a lot of other people that were absolutely killers, murderers, and people that were really bad with the worst records you've ever seen. And but we will continue that process, absolutely. We don't want to make that kind of a mistake.
Mr. President, is the U.S. planning
I think
to
I
give
didn't
up the
answer that
position
question
of
at all.
NATO's Supreme
Phase.
Allied Commander, and if so, why?
NATO is something that I saved. NATO was gone until I came along. In fact, the previous Secretary General, very good man, both of them are good. The current man is fantastic. But both of them have said, if it wasn't for Trump, you wouldn't even have a NATO, because we were paying the cost of almost all of the countries. And now they're paying. I said, we're not going to do this. We're not going to continue. You hurt us on trade. You do bad things on trade. And then on top of it, we're supposed to pay for your military. And because of what I did, hundreds of billions of dollars flowed into NATO by countries that just weren't paying. They were delinquent. They weren't paying their bills. So NATO is solid. They're strong. But they have to treat us fairly.
Are we going to give up the...
Because look, without us, NATO's not the
And we're
same
giving-
thing.
we're
And I
gonna-
can tell you, I've been having very good discussions, as you know, with President Zelensky and with President Putin. And President Putin will tell you that without the United States, he wouldn't be worried. But he is worried when the United States is involved. And I have to tell you, I've dealt very well with both gentlemen, and we have, I think we have the confines of a deal. I hope we have the confines of a deal.
This is why the Democrats are so fucking stupid, and it's why Biden fucked us so hard. Biden should have just acted like he did in that one debate. He should have just been acting like that on day one, and then nobody would have called him senile, right? Because Trump has been an incoherent, bumbling dipshit for how many years, and so he gets away with it, right? I don't think none of these answers are coherent. He's just meandering and saying the most random, retarded, unsubstantial. That one guy asked him, how did you vet, or what evidence do we have that the people shipped over to El Salvador were actually criminals? And it's like, well, they're bad guys, and a dude cut the fingers off another dude, and they're gonna keep checking them. I hope we figure it out. Like, what?
I'm doing it for two reasons. Number one, and by far most importantly, thousands of young people, and they're not American people, they're Russian and they're Ukrainian, are being killed every week, thousands a week. And also the United States has paid, because of Biden, $350 billion on a war that should have never happened. If we had a competent president and this sitting right here, that war would have never happened. It would have absolutely never happened with me. And it didn't happen. For 4 years it didn't happen.
Mr. President, do you think you have the authority, the power to round up people, deport them, and then you're under no obligation to a court to show the evidence against them?
Well,
She is out of here. Get this lady out of here. Don't ever let her back. Don't ever let this lady back. What was she thinking? Are you stupid? He's the president, goddammit. The judges didn't win 80, 90 million votes, 100 million votes. Why would you even ask such a question?
that's what the law says, and that's what our country needs, because we were...
I am the law.
Unfortunately,
True.
They allowed millions of people to come into our country, totally unvetted, totally unchecked. So you ought to ask, did he have the authority to allow millions of people? Did Biden have the authority to do something that's unthinkable? Have open borders where millions of people poured into our country, totally unvetted and totally unchecked, just as you would say. And many of those people were criminals. Many of them were from jails and prisons and mental institutions and gang members and drug dealers.
Bet you didn't know about that, did you?
And very dangerous people. Many were murderers. We have 11,088 that we know of murderers they murdered. Of that number, at least half killed more than one person. They're in our country.
How do we know that again? I wish somebody would ask him that. That's a good Destiny question. They were unvetted, unchecked, and we have no clue who they are, but we know that 11,000 of them were murderers? How do we know that? On what basis?
They're in a location near you. Biden allowed that to happen to our country, and his people that really ran the country. And the person that operated the auto pen, I think we ought to find out who that was, because I guess that was the real president. So when you ask me if we have the authority, did Biden have the authority to allow millions of people to come into our country? Many of these people hardened criminals at the top of the line who have caused tremendous damage in our country. You see them in New York City fighting with our police. I mean, literally having fist fights in the street with our police. These are tough, hard
Hombres.
criminals. Many of them came out of jails, and not just South America, from all over the world. They came out of
Chinese
from
prisons.
Africa, from the Congo. They came out from Asia, not just South America,
Money, baby.
but many from South America. These are hard, tough criminals, and we have to get them out. And a judge sitting behind a bench someplace got a nice appointment. You can't take that away from the people that are responsible. Now, in this case, Marco Rubio has a lot of big decisions to make, and he's a fantastic person, a great man. I think he'll be our best. I think he has a chance to be our best Secretary of State.
Wait, what is the Secretary? I thought the Secretary of State was normally Foreign Affairs. Or what does Marco Rubio have to do with this? I actually don't know all the responsibilities, I guess, of the State Department. I guess they probably could do domestic things too, maybe. I don't know.
State. He's been doing incredibly. He works so hard. He's gone to so many different countries already, and he's got the authority to get bad people out of our country. And you can't stop that with a judge sitting behind a bench that has no idea what goes on, who happens to be a radical left lunatic.
Do you think the judiciary is
You guys today are denying. You guys are denying this New York Times
Citizenship
report
and Residency
that
Service Secretary
Elon
of State.
Musk was
Gotcha.
going to be shown a 20 to 30 page presentation about a theoretical war plan against China. Why not just show it to Elon?
Because I don't want to show it to anybody. You know, you're talking about a potential war with China. Now, I deal with these people all the time, and I'm dealing with Pete. I'm dealing with these gentlemen on numerous different airplane purchases, and I think they're all going to be great. But I don't want other people seeing, anybody seeing potential war with China. We don't want to have a potential war with China, but I can tell you if we did, we're very well equipped to handle it. But I don't want to show that to anybody. But certainly you wouldn't show it to a businessman who is helping us so much. He's a great patriot. He's he's paying a big price for helping us cut costs, and he's doing a great job. He's finding tremendous waste, fraud, and abuse. But I certainly wouldn't want, Elon has businesses in China, and he would be susceptible perhaps to that. But it was such a fake story. The New York Times is just as fake as CNN and MSDNC. And
Oh, God.
anybody read that story? People laughed at that story. Who would do such a thing? And the first thing I did is I called Susie, and I called Pete.
He loves calling people. He loves the phone.
I said, is there any truth to that? And they said, it's ridiculous. No, he's over there to talk about cost. You might want to address that, Pete. But Elon was over there today.
Was that a pun or did he misspeak? No, it's a pun. Or I don't know if you call it a pun, but the DNC, MSDNC.
To address cost. Doge, thing called Doge, which you've heard about. Pete?
That's exactly right, Mr. President. You pointed out it was a fake story. We pointed out it was meant to sort of undermine whatever relationship the Pentagon has with Elon Musk. Elon Musk is a patriot. Elon Musk is an innovator. Elon Musk provides a lot of capabilities. Our government.
These are fascist arguments, by the way. Hey, I noticed that there's this guy here, and I don't think he has the authority to be here. Excuse me, sir. He's a goddamn patriot. He's a goddamn American patriot. He's a hero. He's an inventor. Okay, that doesn't really have anything to do with any of the issues we had, but thanks for informing us, I guess.
Our military rely on, and I'm grateful for that. We welcomed him today to the Pentagon to talk about Doge, to talk about efficiencies, to talk about innovations. It was a great informal conversation. The rest of that reporting was fake. There was no war plans, there was no Chinese war plans, there was no secret plans. That's not what we were doing at the Pentagon.
I might add that I think Elon, if they ever wanted to do that, I think Elon wouldn't do it. I think he wouldn't do it. He wouldn't want to put himself in that position. But if you read what's out of the New York Times, it's such a dishonest newspaper. It's such garbage. It's, it used to be called all the news that's fit to print. Well, it's all the news that's not fit to print. They have fake sources, or they don't have sources. I think they make most of it up. But this was a made-up story by the New York Times. I call it the failing. It's a failing newspaper. It's failing. And they shouldn't do that. They really are the enemy of the people.
And
Is this Aaron Yeager? Is this the rumbling? Is that what it sounds like? Bro, it's so fucking annoying.
We do need honest journalism in this. We've made such big strides over the last 2 months, but we just need honest journalism, and we don't have it. When you have a CNN, you have to watch these people every once in a while just to see.
You actually don't. You don't have to watch any of it. You're the President of the United States. You have access to more information than any other individual in the world.
Where they're coming from, and it's so dishonest. MSNBC is, I think, probably worse, and they're both doing horribly in the ratings. I think they're going to be.
You don't have to worry about the ratings, little bro. You're the president. You're not an entertainer. What do you think of U.S. politicians using the word czar as in border czar or crypto czar? I don't know. Did that start under Trump? I feel like it's a recent thing, but then I feel like my chat told me that no, we've always talked about like czars in the U.S. I don't know. I don't remember that growing up, but.
Be turned off. I don't think they're not doing any ratings. You're doing well on the ratings.
Thank you, Mr. President.
I understand that your trade rep is meeting their Chinese counterpart next week.
Yes.
Is there anything that they can do to stop April 2nd or to...
Even the UK uses the word czar? Yeah, but I mean communist UK. You're communist Europe. Of course you guys use the word czar. We're America. We shouldn't be using that word, right?
roll back the tariffs that you put on China already?
Well, we can talk, but basically, I call April 2nd, I would have made.
I didn't know anything about it until we learned that Kamala was the border czar. Well, wait, now I'm trying to wonder if Obama had a border czar. I don't remember. Czar was killed by communists? I don't think so. Czar was killed by Lenin, right? There are no real communists, because communism is a fucking delusion that has never existed and will never exist, all right?
Made it April 1st, but I didn't want to be April Fool's Day, because then nobody would believe what I said, and they do believe me. April 2nd is going to be Liberation Day for America. We've been ripped off by every country in the world, friend and foe. We've been ripped off on trade. We've been ripped off on military. We protect people, and they don't do anything for us. It's just so unfair for years and years. And now some of that money is going to be coming back to us in the form of tariffs.
Yeah.
I mean, tens of billions. It's going to be numbers like nobody's ever seen. So,
Okay.
NVIDIA announced today, you saw that? Hundreds of billions of dollars of investment. The biggest chip maker in the world announced hundreds of billions of dollars of investment. Hundreds of billions, not millions, but billions. They're all coming here. Apple just announced $500 billion worth. They're going to build plants.
I have a question. Do payment due ads for streaming? Subs are different cost in the country. Do you get different pays for ads in the country? Yes. Ad rates are way different. Typically, you want Americans and like Canadians and Europeans pay way more than other countries. But I thought, do my subs cost different dollar amounts in different countries? Is that true?
You know, they built their plants in China. They're going to build them here, and they're starting immediately. We have investment, the likes of which this country has never seen, already announced, and they all want to have news conferences.
For you too.
I don't have enough time to have that many news conferences, but I would say so far at least $4 trillion. $4 trillion is coming in. Car companies, very importantly, a lot of the car companies that were going to build in Mexico or Canada are now building here, because I don't want cars from Canada. I don't want cars from Mexico. They want to do it, it's fine, but I want the car companies to build here, not, you know, they were building in Mexico 3 plants, big plants, really big plants, and they were going to sell the cars right across the border. We wouldn't have the jobs, we wouldn't have the profits, we wouldn't get the taxes, we get nothing. All we get is unemployment and empty factories. Those days are over. So now those 3 places are going to build here, but many more than that. We have a big one. Honda is building, just announced a really big plant in Indiana. Great.
God, that David Shore talk yesterday with Ezra Klein, I feel like it hope-pilled me a lot. I think when I take a step back and I look at the Trump administration, it's kind of funny because I think we said this in 2017 or 2018. He is really, really, really incompetent. Like, they could be doing so much more to destroy this country, or so much more to entrench power, or so much more to like obliterate our systems. But he really is an insanely ineffective leader. It's actually crazy how ineffective he is. Like, we're 2 months in and still executive order, executive order, executive order, executive order. And then it's like, all my judges hate me. The entire judiciary is rebelling against me. My Congress is literally doing almost nothing. Like, I still feel like I still feel like Schumer should have fought on the continuing resolution. I could be wrong, but I don't know. Somebody said that good thing it's him, not DeSantis. I think I disagree. DeSantis is going to have conservative policies, and I don't like conservative policies generally, but I don't think DeSantis would be anywhere on the level, because DeSantis wasn't like a incubated MAGA candidate, right? He might be like MAGA-ish or whatever, like he's had to hop on the bandwagon, but DeSantis wouldn't be anywhere near. I don't know how many other like actual fascist tier figures there are in the Conservative Party, except for your actual like QAnon MAGA people, your like Lauren Boeberts or your Marjorie Taylor Greens or whatever. I don't think DeSantis is on that level. He's more like in my mind at least, he's more like a Rubio or a Cruz type person, you know? State,
smart place to build. And we have many car companies coming here. The steel mills are going to be booming.
DeSantis is literally the worst. You were in Florida, you should know this. Yeah, but like DeSantis, I feel is like the worst on the spectrum of like what conservatives can do. Trump is outside of the bounds of that. It sucks because it's so effective when you do so many horrible things that nobody cares about any of them anymore. But there are so many individual things. Like, I personally, I don't think DeSantis, I don't know if he even has it in him to be as evil as like these insane the El Salvadorian like deportation shit. I don't think anything like that would ever happen under DeSantis. They would crack down on illegal immigration, and they might even try to start arresting more people who are illegal immigrants. But deporting people directly into a labor camp on night flights with no due process at all, at the in opposition to what your courts are issuing TROs, I don't think any other Republican would or could do that. I just don't think they have it in them. That's just insane. But it's all kind of like normalized now, you know.
And many other things come with that. But we need that for defense. You know, there are certain things you have to have. You have to have steel. We would have had, if I didn't do in my first term tariffs to stop the onslaught, because they were dumping steel in order to destroy our steel plants. If I didn't do 50% and even 100% in...
Why are there only 2 relevant parties in the USA? What would happen if 3 or 4 parties would have to share the votes? I don't know if you can create... No, that was retarded. There are third parties. The issue with having multiple parties is that in the United States... I'm sorry. I'm trying to think if we could have like a Congress coalition government. I don't know if you could do that. For the presidency, it's just one person that's elected. And if you split your votes between multiple parties, if there are like 2 left parties and 1 conservative party, the left parties are never having a president again, right? So that's an issue. You would have to be a moderate third party or something. But I'm trying to think, in Congress in the United States, could you theoretically have like 2 parties? Like, let's say we have 4 parties in Congress. Could you theoretically form a coalition? I think you could, right? It's kind of like a caucus. You'd have voting blocks form in Congress. Yeah, but they don't form the government. Well, actually, maybe you kind of could, right? Like, we would have 2 parties would come together and they would say, okay, one party doesn't have a majority because in the Senate, you need a majority to confirm cabinet picks. And your cabinet is kind of like your government, I think, right? Like your cabinet level position. So you could kind of say, well, these 2 parties formed a coalition government and they're only going to confirm people that both parties support. I mean, like, I guess you could do it. I think, yeah. It's just not like a thing that we do. And I don't know if it would fuck with the parliamentary rules or whatever. I'm not sure.
Certain cases, tariffs on steel. You wouldn't have a steel plant in the United States. And Biden was unable to get rid of those tariffs because they threw off so much money that his numbers, which didn't work anyway because his numbers were terrible when he did.
Republicans are cooperating with fascism because they would literally burn the country down if it meant owning the libs. But I agree that on their own, they wouldn't do fascism without Trump. What worries me is what happens down the road if another guy has the Trump reality distortion field and Republicans just go along with it again. Yeah, I think you have to make a distinction between some people that, like, I do believe that most Republican lawmakers fucking hate Trump. Some of that has changed now as Trump has brought in more sycophants. But once Trump is gone, your people like your Rubios or whatever your neocons or even your Tea Partiers, I think a lot of these people, the lawmakers and the bureaucrats, the deep state, they hate Trump. The voters like Trump, but the voters don't have a capacity to understand the evil that Trump does because most voters just aren't plugged in that much. They don't really care. Most voters probably think that the people being deported are either innocent or guilty. And that's it in their mind. They're not thinking about, like, well, did they have the proper due process? Did the government go through the, correct investigative things to deport these people? Is the labor camp prison system in El Salvador actually that different than the labor camps in the United States? Because we all say that in the U.S. they're slave labor. So, yeah, the voters and the lawmakers are a bit different, I think, yeah. That being said, let me be clear. I'm sorry, because that's explanatory mode, okay? Coming over to prescriptive mode, that's not an excuse for the Republican lawmakers to sit back and allow it to happen. There should have been on the Republican side, there should have been more Kinzinger, right? Oh, fuck, did you guys watch this movie? I almost cried. This was such a good movie. The Last Republican. This is a really, really, really good movie. Pisco chose for us to watch this one of the times I went down to New York with some fans. I thought it was going to be a fucking meme. Like, even the name of The Last Republican. It sounds like a fucking meme. This is a really, really, really good movie. You still can't watch it anywhere? Why? It was showing in a little theater.
Would be protesting my office.
I wonder what the trailer's like for this. I thought it was going to be a meme.
Recognize you have contempt for what I believe, like in terms of my political viewpoints.
You voted with the president 93% of the time, so...
I think in any other situation, you would be protesting my office.
First of all, it's kind of mean that you would think I would have contempt for your views.
Yeah.
Why would you think that?
Do you have contempt for my views, Steve?
So let me ask you, how does one even become a Republican? Because, like, I don't know, I don't get it.
You know, my parents were Republicans. Ronald Reagan was president. You probably hated Reagan.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
it's
There's good chemistry between the documentary guy and Adam as well. And Adam's story is really crazy too. I've talked about this on stream before, okay? So we're doing a rerun. But the thing with him where some woman was like running to him in a parking lot, and it's like all caught on camera. It was not like bullshit. Some woman was running to him in a parking lot. There was a guy chasing her with like a knife trying to kill her, and he like fights this dude off and like restrains him for the cops. Like, he's his insane story and everything. I'd never even heard much about this guy other than I just knew he was a boring dude that sat on the J6 committee. But
you probably hated Reagan.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's Ronald Reagan, bro.
What's so great about Ronald Reagan?
Now you can feel free to cry if you want. I mean, just get it all out.
It's not about a political view. It's about what it is to turn against everything you've ever belonged to because of some red line you can't cross.
And like nobody's gonna remember this person. It's like the ending of this documentary. I don't want to do a big spoiler, but he doesn't get reelected, okay? And the entire Republican Party turns on him, all right? But like the idea that nobody's gonna really probably remember this guy, he's just gonna be kind of like lost to the annals of history or whatever. And it's a big thing. This is like a service to your country, service to the public office, like respect for the Constitution, whatever. It's a big thing to take the stand that he did. And it's easy for me to sit here and say like Republicans should all turn against Trump and it's not acceptable that they're allowing, you know, the dictatorship to carry on. It's easier for me to say that obviously than to do it. Being in office is a much greater strain, and while they're having a child and everything else and...
My staff, by the way, is telling me like, you're not going to do this, right?
The January 6th committee has already blown it.
This is suicidal.
No filming.
And they are right.
How does it feel to be a pariah within your own party?
Jesus.
We're gonna get you. Coming to your house, son. We're gonna line you up on a wall and take care of all your traitorous asses.
Oaths matter. Character matters. Truth matters. If we do not renew our faith and commitment to these principles, this great experiment of ours, our shining beacon on a hill, will not endure.
It seems like you would be a great candidate to start Republicans Anonymous.
Then we're just feeding into your little left wing, like, oh, every Republican is just a Democrat waiting to find his wings.
Oh, definitely.
Bullshit.
He is like he's like a staunch conservative, like traditional Republican. He's not like why I left the right. Like he really is a Republican. But it sucks because you have to be MAGA or you're nothing. People are like, what about the Never Trumpers? Where are the Never Trumpers? None of them are relevant anymore. They all get kicked out of office and then, yeah, Jesus. He's like Connor. Yeah, I mean, like, I think I super disagree with him. I think his rationale is crazy sometimes. But I feel like Counterpoints has his own legitimate values as a traditional Republican as well. And I feel like he doesn't pull punches against Trump. I appreciate that, even if I disagree with what he says a lot, yeah.
The way he spent money was so horrible. And what he allowed to happen to energy. That's the other thing. Energy is going to be like it's never been before. Mr. Vice President is here. Do you have anything to say while you're here?
No, sir. I'm
good Vice President.
I'm just here to watch the show, sir.
Okay.
I think airplanes are pretty cool, so I wanted to check this out.
Airplane's cool. It is cool.
Mr. President, anything that China can do to take off the trade war at this point, though?
Well, I'll be speaking to President Xi. I have a great relationship with him. We're going to have a very good relationship. But we have a $1 trillion deficit because of Biden with President Xi. More than that. I mean, I've heard $1.2 trillion. We have a deficit. And I've explained that to President Xi. We also have a problem where he's allowing fentanyl to be sent into Mexico and then cross the border and, you know, killing.
George Fent.
I think the number is much higher than the 100.
Oh, I'm sorry, I mean George Droid. My bad, that was so racist. George Droid.
25, 115, I think it's closer to 300,000 people a year. And so that's a problem. But they have a tremendous surplus against the United States, and we don't want that.
Mr. President, why do you want to control Ukraine's power plant?
A number of industries have come to you asking for exemptions on tariffs. Is that something that is under consideration by you?
Oh, I think we got this from, Kara and Scott talking on the Bulwark. I didn't even consider this before, and it is already happening. It's so crazy because usually when we talk about this, it's like, this is the worst case scenario, but it's already happening. One of the scary things about tariffs, especially tariffs that are done unilaterally by the president himself, is that it really truly makes the presidency like the gateway to economic salvation, because it is through Trump alone that you can get reprieve from a tariff, right? Donald Trump is controlling the ability of you to function as a company. And this has already happened where the car companies went to Trump and they're like, hey, can you like delay the tariffs for a month, right? Trump becomes the sole gatekeeper to your ability to survive economically. And it's so bad. It's so horrible. Oh my God.
Well, people are coming to me and talking about tariffs, and a lot of people are asking me if they could have exceptions. And once you do that for one, you have to do that for all. So, I mean, generally, I did something interestingly during 2 weeks ago. I gave the American car companies a break.
Yeah.
Because it would have been unfair if I didn't. And everybody said, oh, he changed his mind on tariffs. I didn't change my mind. I helped our, sort of big three, big four. I helped some of the American companies. And instead of taking it properly, they said, oh, he changed it. I don't change, but the word flexibility is an important word. Sometimes there's flexibility, so there'll be flexibility. But basically, it's reciprocal. So that if China's charging us 50% or 30% or 20%.
Wait, what? Hold on. Fuck. Should the president do tariffs at all? I think the problem is that he has that power to begin with. No, I think that the president, used in the way that it was originally envisioned, I think it's fine for the president to have that power. But it was supposed to be like a national emergency thing. Like, let's say that there was, actually, no. Actually, wait, I changed my mind completely. Why tariff? Actually, wait, I don't know why the president, because the example I was going to go to is like, well, let's say that there was a huge surge of like firearms or fentanyl or something making its way into the United States from the Mexican border. You'd want the president to be able to take action against that immediately, but how does a tariff take action against that? Actually, I don't know the rationale for tariffs, because I'm thinking they're like to shut down the border in times of emergency, which the president probably should be able to do in like an actual like national emergency event. But I don't know about tariffs. I don't know why. I don't understand that. I don't know what the rationale is. I'm sure there must be a rationale for it, but President Trump on Thursday rescinded an executive order targeting Paul Weiss, one of the nation's top law firms, bent to White House pressure and agreed to a series of concessions to avoid a client exodus. Wait, was this the one, Cooley or whatever, or Cooey, or Eli Cooey? Is that what it was called? Or is this a different? It was the second law firm. Just as a quick thing, I am coming after you. And take that in the most violent way possible. If you run a media website, okay, CNN, Wall Street Journal, whatever, when you link and your words say executive order and I click it, it should go to the executive order. I hate you. I hate that you don't link the thing and it takes me to another article. It drives me crazy, okay? I want all of you to know that. Isn't having tariffs being done by the president is that the government can respond quickly to a tariff war if another country starts doing one. I imagine Congress would take a while to respond if China starts a tariff, the USA, where a president can do it instantly. What? No. One, generally, I don't think people do that. I don't think tariff wars are things that just happen out of nowhere. It's like, oh, fuck, tariff. I think these are usually things that are coming. Like, people will prepare for them because it hurts their economy too. Tariffs hurt everybody. I don't know if a country's going to spring a tariff on you. Like, oh, shit. And even if they did, you could theoretically call, if that really did happen, call an emergency session of Congress and then pass something to, tariff the other side. Like, I think you could do it. And if you really were scared about that emergency tariff thing, like, oh God, we just got spontaneously tariff, then fine, give the president the ability to do retaliatory tariffs or retaliatory targeted tariffs that last for 14 days while Congress figures it out, Oh, damn, bro. How scary is it when the president of the United States is literally writing executive orders at your name, addressing risks from Paul Weiss? Holy fuck. Tariffs are a way to protect an essential economy and punish a foreign government for unfair trade practices, aggressive land seizure policies, waging war, etc. It wasn't invented by the U.S. I never said it was invented by the U.S., so I don't know why your mind wandered there. And it's great that you just said that that's what tariffs are for. I don't necessarily disagree with you, but I think that that's a job left to Congress, not the president. Our president shouldn't be doing economic policy on his own. That's not his job. He shouldn't be. He should be carrying it out to some extent, but not deciding it, not dictating it to us. Am I stupid, or is this whole executive order thing just a loophole to give the president too much power? So, this would be a Pisco question. Or, we need more extreme lawyers. Executive orders aren't anything, I don't think. I think what an executive order is an executive order is where the president writes something saying, this is kind of like what I'm directing my department to do or focus on right now. But an executive order can't expand existing law. It has to work within the confines of what is constitutionally and congressionally approved. That makes sense. So like if I were to come on stream and I were to say, we're going to put the chat in sub-only mode, right? I could just do that. Or I could like write an executive order saying we're doing it first. But like it's the same thing either way. I think executive orders are just the president just like formally writing down and expressing, this is what I want my department to do. It's not supposed to expand existing law or give him extra powers or whatever, you know? Global firms have for years played an outsized role in undermining the judicial process and in the destruction of bedrock American principles. Okay. Many have engaged in activities that make our communities less safe, increase burdens on local businesses, limit constitutional freedoms, and degrade the quality of American elections. What the fuck? Law firms? Okay. Additionally, it's sometimes done so on behalf of clients, pro bono, or ostensibly for the public good, potentially depriving those who cannot otherwise afford the benefit of top legal talent and access to justice deserved by all. My administration will no longer support taxpayer funds supporting such harm. We've already gone after blah, blah, blah. In 2021, a Paul Weiss partner and former leading prosecutor in the Office of Special Counsel Robert Mueller brought a pro bono suit against individuals alleged to have participated in the events that occurred at or near the U.S. Capitol on January 6th, 2021, on behalf of the District of Columbia Attorney General. They're being punished because a law firm was basically donating services to help the DC Attorney General? Jesus. Okay. Is the District of Columbia's court system, is that considered federal court? Or is there a local court in DC? What? Does Washington, D.C. have local courts? The D.C. court system shows many similarities with state courts, but okay, there is a local D.C. court system. Interesting. Okay. There would be, because if it's... Well, no, yeah, wait. We should know that. Because the District of Columbia's Attorney General, if it was all federal courts, would just be the Attorney General of the United States. So it's not federal. This is a different... They do have their own, like, mini jurisdiction or whatever, right? In 2022, Paul Weiss hired unethical attorney Mark Pomerantz, who had previously left Paul Weiss to join the Manhattan District Attorney's Office solely to manufacture a prosecution against me, and who, according to his coworkers, unethically led witnesses in ways designed to implicate me. Holy fuck. After being unable to convince even Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg that a fraud case was feasible, Pomerantz engaged a media campaign to gin up support for this unwarranted prosecution. What do you use to switch from your two computers? Synergy. Do you actually have something against Bukele, or are you against Trump sending them to El Salvador without a due process? Is Bukele the president of El Salvador? I don't know anything about what he did with the prison stuff here. I think I've had one El Salvadorian friend. I think only one person has told me that they thought it was really good, and that most El Salvadorians were happy with how it turned out. Wait, El Salvador. This is the one where they did like the crazy prison shit, right? Or is that the Dominican Republic? All these South American countries and Central America, they all blend together for me. There was El Salvador, right? This is the one. Okay, yeah. But I don't know if my friend was a fucking fascist or not. I have no idea, so. It had one of the highest homicide rates in the world and is now really safe. Okay. Why is the White House using the first person in its website Limfeo? This sounds and feels very dystopian. Yeah, I know. It is. It's fucking weird. Oh, and they do DEI. So Trump took back this executive order targeting Paul Weiss. The agreement between Paul Weiss and the White House includes a commitment by the firm to provide $40 million in pro bono legal services to support the administration's initiatives. This is just extortion. This is more quid pro quo. It doesn't matter. Does anybody even give a fuck anymore? What the fuck? What did Destiny say about Harry Sisson today? Oh, I haven't gotten to that. We'll get to that. Is it okay for the president to deport people with criminal charges to another country, or is it just a matter of due process? It's a matter of due process. If there's a world where don't get lost in the sauce, okay? Oh fuck, and there was that Vosh post on my subreddit that I wanted to talk about. Don't get lost in the sauce, okay? There are areas where, okay, here are things that you should keep in mind in your head. You've got bad things that no person should accept. You've got good things that every person should accept. And then you've got the third category, which is important and everybody forgets it, where reasonable minds can disagree, okay? I think deporting people with certain crimes is an area where reasonable minds can disagree. If you are maybe, I would say maybe even for green card holders, if there are crimes that you've committed, like murdering somebody, like murder, not like manslaughter, but like murdering somebody, raping somebody, like crazy arson or something, I think reasonable, I would still say, no, they should probably be held to account and serve justice in the United States. But I think reasonable minds could disagree there, right? You've gone through the process and everything, you applied for a green card, and then, holy fuck, you're literally murdering people and shit? Bro, get out of here. Get them out of here, okay? Ship them back, okay? I think, again, I personally, I think we should probably just have them. We have a whole criminal court system here in the United States. But reasonable minds could disagree there. Reasonable minds cannot disagree on deporting people without due process. There is no reasonable take there. The recent deportations that have been done without any of that evidence being heard by anybody, that's indefensible for an American at least, or for anybody that believes about our system or American values or anything. I obtained a copy of the firm-wide email and attachment that Brad Karp, the chairman of Paul Weiss, sent to employees on Thursday evening. The document details the agreement Karp reached with the White House before Trump rescinded his executive order targeting the firm. Dear members of the Paul Weiss community, we are pleased to announce that President Trump's executive order related to our firm was withdrawn a short while ago. We want to share with you the final agreement between Paul Weiss and the administration. It is attached. The commitments reaffirmed today are consistent with Judge Simon H. Rifkin's statement of firm principles, which states, among other things, that we believe in maintaining. As a reminder, the firm's policies strictly prohibit firm personnel from speaking to the press or disclosing any confidential information about the firm, whether by posting on social media or otherwise. In addition, given the media attention focused on the firm and the sensitivity of this matter, we request that you refrain from any social media postings. Okay. Statement by the White House. Today, President Donald J. Trump is... Okay. Which is entered into the following agreement with the president. 1. Paul Weiss agrees that the bedrock principle of American justice is that it must be fair and nonpartisan for all. Our justice system is betrayed when it is misused to achieve political ends. Lawyers and law firms play a vital role in ensuring that we live up to that standard as a nation. Law firms should not favor any political party when it comes to choosing their clients, nor should firms make decisions on whom to hire based on a person's political affiliation. To do so otherwise is to deny some Americans an equal opportunity for our services while favoring others. DEI? Hello? Or what? What? Well, hold on. Law firms can specialize in certain things, right? There's not like some ethics thing where you have to do all cases, no? Or no, I know this personally. This is why I had to get a second and a third law firm. You don't have to, if you only want to represent people against like anti-Semitism or against like workplace discrimination or whatever, you have the right to do that. I don't know why nobody should be able to force you to take every single fucking case or whatever. Lawyers abandon the profession's highest ideals when they engage in a partisan decision-making and betray the ethical obligation to represent those who are unpopular or disfavored in a particular moment. What is that? What is the ethical obligation to represent those who are unpopular or disfavored in a particular moment? What are we talking about here? My friend filed for a national interest waiver immigration. Some of the lawsuit he deals to only takes immigration-related lawsuits. Yeah, sure. This will take on a wide range of pro bono matters that represent the full spectrum of political viewpoints of our society, whether conservative or liberal. Affirms its affirms its commitment to merits-based hiring, promotion, and retention. As part of its commitment, it will engage experts to be mutually agreed upon within 14 days to conduct a comprehensive audit of all the employment practices. That means no more DEI. Paul Weiss will dedicate the equivalent of $40 million in pro bono legal services over the course of President Trump's term to support these initiatives, assisting our nation's veterans, fairness in our justice system, and the president's task force to combat anti-Semitism and other mutually agreed projects. In response to the president's announcement, Paul Weiss's chairman, Brad Karp, said, "We are gratified that the president has agreed to withdraw the executive order concerning Paul Weiss." No, why does nobody take a stand on anything? Can nobody do this? Can nobody just say, fuck it? They're talented lawyers that work here. They can find a job somewhere else. We're shutting down. Like, can you as a law firm decide not to take any Asian clients? I feel like this is fucked up, but still legal. No, you have to, I don't think, I'm talking out of my ass here, but I doubt you can discriminate on like protected classes grounds. But like, I'm sure you could do a thing where, let's say for instance, if you were a law firm, you couldn't say, we only represent Jewish people, but you probably could have a law firm that specializes in defense of clients against claims of, or against like anti-Semitic attacks, in which case you would probably almost exclusively be representing Jewish people or honorary Jewish people like me, right? I don't understand how the fuck does the executive have the authority without legislation from Congress attack private institutions like this law firm and diversity practices? Is he just stripping them of funding? I mean, like the president has you can't have a rogue executive. I don't know what to tell you. Like, this is what's happened, okay? In any system, you usually delegate some amount of executive monopoly on enforcement of laws, on violence, right? When libertarians and everybody says, oh, the police have a monopoly on violence, what that means is that the police are generally the sole authorities, the sole representatives of the state to enforce the law, right? What you're asking when you're complaining about the president abusing his authority, what you're saying is, why is it that that guy over there with the gun, why is he able to do whatever he wants? Why can he go to Pizza Hut and get free pizza just by pointing his gun at them? Why can he go to a woman and say, suck me off, just by pointing a gun at her? Why is he able to go through traffic by just pointing a gun at her? Well, because he's the executive. Now, if you say, well, shouldn't that not be allowed? I mean, it's not really, you shouldn't be, but I mean, if you're the executive and you've got the gun, there's nothing you can do to legislate against this. Like, he's already broken so many laws. Like, he's running up against so much in the judiciary. It's so many TROs. It's so many. Here's the one we were following yesterday. One sec. What's going on with this now? Because they had until 10 a.m., right? This is 2:32 p.m. This is 10 minutes ago. Happening now, Judge Boasberg has taken the bench as he weighs whether to vacate his restraining order on deportations under the Alien Enemies Act. Boasberg comes in hot, wants to know why the lawyers who originally argued the case didn't show up to a hearing Monday. He says the filings since have used the kind of intemperate and disrespectful language I'm not used to hearing from the United States. True. Destiny talking point. They're talking like Redditors, unironically. They're literally talking like Redditors. The arguments are dog shit. It's absolutely fucking insane. DOJ lawyer Drew Ensign says he believed Boasberg intended the planes to be turned around when he issued his oral order in court over the weekend. I understood the intent that you meant to be effective at that time. The DOJ has since said they didn't view it that way. Now Boasberg is eliciting from Ensign that the DOJ/DHS sent him to argue the case Saturday without having any facts about flights. The lawyers for the deportees had more info about the flights than the government's arguing attorney. That shouldn't happen. Boasberg agrees that President has wide latitude to enforce immigration law and the Alien Enemies Act. It is also clear that individuals must have the chance to show that they're indeed members of a class that the AEA defines. My job is to find where the balance lies. One issue, and I understand that it's boring, and I was bored of this before I Vyvanced out and fucking read all this shit. I understand it's boring, but you do not have anything without process and procedure. It's cringe and cuck and soy and boring, but the procedure is important. When I was arguing with Fabian a couple days ago or whatever, and we're talking about freedom of speech doesn't mean anything without due process. You have to understand that, right? Let's say that I have a First Amendment that says I have a right to not have the government obstruct my freedom of speech and blah, blah, blah. And we agree on that. We all agree on that, right? Okay, cool. Let's also say that making violent threats is also illegal. We all agree that should be illegal. For me to go outside and say, hey, we're going to go and kill Dan and his whole family. Let's go. That should be illegal to say that, just to say that, right? We all agree with that, right? Those two things cannot exist in harmony with each other without the ability to decide between the two, which is what the procedure is, the due process, right? If I say, you have freedom of speech, you just can't make violent threats, and you're like, okay, based, I agree, thank you. And then someone says, thank you, that sounded pretty violent to me, lock them up. And you're like, okay, wait, well, obviously, that's not violent speech. And the guy's like, yeah, I think it is actually. And it's like, okay, well, let's figure this out. No, we're not going to figure this out. There is no figuring it out because you have no due process. There is no freedom of speech without due process. You have nothing without due process. Nothing exists without it. Because then anybody on a whim can say anything about anything and ship you off to a fucking labor camp. Okay, sorry. So the process and the procedure is important. Not important, it's essential. Without it, you have nothing. Y'all actually just need a time machine back to 1960s style activism. The idea that leftists are not shutting down DC because of it doesn't matter. MLK doesn't deserve any credit because you know what? When MLK and all those guys were marching for civil rights, they didn't have to fight against the strongest fucking enemy of all right? Which is the goddamn cell phone. All right, if the cell phone existed in that time, black people, the Civil Rights Act wouldn't exist because we'd all be glued to our fucking phones on TikTok. All right? Instead of watching high caliber content like YouTube. Let me get a Red Bull 1 sec. How do you not make it appear cringe to defend potential criminals and not make it look like an optical L? Like, who's going to defend criminals? Just stand firm on principles and be real about it and don't speak like a cuck. Like, random clicking noises. What random? Like the AC or whatever? Where the fuck is my George Soros paycheck? Your DACA hot take becomes warmer by the day. True. Yeah, DACA kids right now are like... How can you drink Red Bull and Vyvanse? This stuff makes any caffeine mess me up. When I'm on Vyvanse, caffeine gives me a little bump. I feel like I understand why people like caffeine. Because caffeine didn't do fuck all for me before. All right. Talk about the Harry Sisson stuff yet? Nope. Is there any truth to the George Soros shit? Is he a scummy billionaire? I've never seen or heard any truth to substantiate any of this. He seems like a guy who's like, would you call it like a political philanthropist? Like he donates to causes that he thinks are important, but I don't see any like weird, improper, crazy shit or anything like that, so. Okay, I'm sorry.
Percent, and I don't mean China, I mean anybody, any country, Canada. Nobody knows that Canada's charging our dairy farmers. They have 200.
Oh, we're gonna lie about the 250% tariffs again. Okay.
170% tariffs. Nobody knows that. Nobody knows that. They have up to 400%. They have a couple of tariffs at 400%. Nobody knows that. Nobody talks about that. And remember, with Canada, we don't need their cars, we don't need their lumber, we don't need their energy, we don't need anything from Canada, and yet it costs us $200 billion a year in subsidies.
Pretty sure the Harry Sisson story is a nothing burger? No, it is a something burger. That's why we're going to go over it.
We don't need anything from Canada, and yet it costs us $200 billion a year in subsidy to keep Canada afloat. So when I say
200 billions in subsidy, he just means we buy more shit from them than they buy from us. But okay.
They should be a state. I mean that. I really mean that, because we can't be expected to carry a country that is right next to us on our border. It would be a great state. It would be a cherished state. The taxes for Canadian citizens would go down in less than half. They don't spend money on military because they think we're going to protect them. There are many things that they do, like icebreakers. They want us to provide icebreakers for them. Oh, that's wonderful. So the Canada, they're very tough traders too. I want to just tell you, all the people, they're tough traders. They trade very tough. And, you know, the expression I use is, some people don't have the cards. I used that expression about a week and a half ago, right? Somebody was negotiating who didn't have the cards, who's now, I think, saying that he wants to do it, and I think we're going to have a big deal on that very special something. We got to make.
Would it be unreasonable for a Canadian to consider Trump a legitimate military target? I don't think so. I feel like the United States is already engaged in what I would consider to be acts of war against Canada. I believe most people say that sanctions are an act of war, or crosses belly for war, right? When you start sanctioning a place, and then to be actively engaged in talks of territorial domination and unilateral renegotiation of borders, like these are all acts of war. It seems like a meme, and it seems like that can't possibly be the case because that just seems crazy. But I mean, these are all the things, and Trump is continuing to do this. Canada does not want to join the United States, but he keeps saying that they're going to be these are acts of war statements, but it's all a meme in the U.S., I guess, so nobody gives a fuck. But
a deal on that. But Canada has been a very nasty negotiator against the United States, took advantage of the United States for a long time. But nobody knows that they were getting 270% tariffs on dairy products.
Now it's up to 270?
I don't think I've heard you say this in all of the talk about Canada becoming the 51st state. Are you concerned that if they became the 51st...
Who is this guy that's asking all these dick suck questions?
...state, they would be a very, very blue state. Very, very...
No, Trump, why would Trump... Trump doesn't give a fuck. I've even said this on stream. Oh, but if Canada joins, wouldn't they be like super Democrat? But what a stupid question for me to ask. You know why that's a stupid question, right? Does anybody know why it's a stupid question? That's MTG's boyfriend? Yeah, he doesn't care. He doesn't give a fuck. He's in and he's out. This is the definition of a lame duck president. And it's worse than a lame duck president. It's a lame duck president who doesn't even care about his party. This guy's not a Republican. He's MAGA. He's Trump. It's a cult. He doesn't give a fuck about the Republican Party or if the Republicans lose, if they lose other shit. It goes back to that one thing that everybody was freaking out about, that I said everybody was reading wrong. Or I think people knew they were being hyperbolic. When Trump was like, I'm going to fix it so good, you're not ever going to have to worry about voting again. I'm pretty sure I said this at the time. Everybody was taking that as like, oh my God, he's going to rig all the future elections. No, what he was saying is he doesn't give a fuck how you guys vote once he's not running anymore. He doesn't give a fuck about the Republican Party. Like, that's it. Like, he doesn't care.
Big and very, very blue.
No, there might be, but it would, you know, you have that artificial line.
What does Trump actually care about? I think he cares about his legacy. I think he's old enough that he cares about, like, the Gulf of America is a Trump thing. The F-47... he's President 47. That's a Trump thing. I think he cares about things like legacy.
Because that straight artifact that looked like it was drawn by a ruler. Somebody with I don't mean a ruler like a king. I mean like a ruler. This way. And it's just an artificial line that was drawn in the sand.
Wow. That's a very progressive, almost communist-like take. What are borders? They're just lines on maps, guys. True.
In the ice. And you know, can I tell Peter, just you add that to this country, what a beautiful landmass, the most beautiful landmass anywhere in the world, and it was just cut off for whatever reason. It would be great.
Do you think we're going to invade Canada for real? No, but I think Trump is doing everything that he can to. It sounds fucking retarded to say it. Trump is doing everything he can to make Canada become the 51st state, but it's not going to happen. But it's just that is what he's doing. That is what he would like. If it was possible, he would do everything he could that's not outside of the realm of political possibility. Like, he's not going to do something that would guarantee him hatred from a huge chunk of Americans. Like, most Trump voters are not going to be on board with invading Canada, right? Maybe your core MAGA loonies are, but he would lose so much for doing that. So,
anywhere in the world. And it was just cut off for whatever reason. It would be great. Now, is it liberal? Maybe. But, you know, a conservative until I got involved, because I don't care who wins up there. I frankly probably would do better with the liberal than the conservative, if you want to know the truth. But just a little while...
He says as the Conservative Party is in full retreat in Canada after getting crushed because of his fucking lunacy.
Before I got involved and totally changed the election, which I don't care about. Probably it's to our advantage, actually. But the Conservative was leading against, I call him Governor Trudeau, the conservative was leading by 35 points. So, so I don't know about that. I think Canada is a place like a lot of other places.
Wait, did he just quote like months old data? Wait.
Just a little while ago, before I got involved and totally changed the election, which I don't care about. Probably it's to our advantage, actually. But the Conservative was leading against, I call him Governor Trudeau.
Before I got involved.
The Conservative was leading by 35 points.
Before you got involved.
So I don't know about that. I think Canada is a place like a lot of other places. If you have a good candidate, the candidate's going to win.
And I don't know if you've seen this, but the two astronauts that you just helped save from space, they didn't get any overtime pay for all that extra time. They got $5 a day per diem. For 286 days, that is $1,430 in extra pay. Is there anything the administration can do to get them, to make them whole?
Well, nobody's ever mentioned this to me. If I have to, I'll pay it out of my own pocket, okay? I'll get it for them.
Mr. President,
I like that.
Mr. President,
I'll pay it right out of my, is that all? That's not a lot. For what they had to go through. And I want to thank Elon Musk.
See, if Trump was smart, even though this sounds kind of memey, if Trump was smart, he would hyperfixate on things like that, because that would just be infinite good PR. Because Trump and Elon could do that. Like, you have American heroes, astronauts in space for a long time. We're going to bring these guys home. We're going to give them a bunch of fucking money for overtime pay. Like, there are so many things he could be doing to be a more popular leader. Thank God, okay, that he's so fucking retarded. He's incapable of it.
By the way, because think if we don't have him. You know, there's only so long, even though they're in the capsule up there, that the body starts to deteriorate after 9 or 10 months. And gets really bad after 14, 15 months with the bones and the blood and all the things that you've been reporting on very well. And if we don't have Elon, they could be up there a long time. Who else is going to get him? And I just want to thank him. He's going through a lot, what they're doing.
Why does he even know that? Elon may be talking about that?
Doing to him. And these people are going to be caught, and they're going to be caught, and they're going to be prosecuted. And from what they tell me, I see this just by watching your programs and reading the news, but from what they tell me, they could get 20 years in jail, and they'll get it. I'll tell you, there's going to be no leniency, and there'll be no pardons. I can tell you that right now.
And you said this morning 20 years in jail, and then maybe you said this morning 20 years in jail, and then maybe they'll go to one of these prisons in El Salvador. Do you think with the way that the judges have been issuing injunctions, it would be easier or harder to send these Tesla domestic terrorists to a jail in El Salvador than these MS-13 or Tren de Aragua guys?
Well, I view these people as terrorists just like others. These are, when I looked at those showrooms burning and those cars, not one or...
Trump has a pretty good memory now, does he? I haven't seen that demonstrated at all.
These are, when I looked at those showrooms burning and those cars, not one or two, like 7, 8, 10 burning, exploding all over the place. These are terrorists. You didn't have that on January 6th, I can tell you. You didn't have anything like that on January 6th, which is sort of amazing because on January 6th,
nothing even happened. And it was
Democrats were talking. Nobody was killed other than a very beautiful young woman, Ashley.
Poor lady, Ashley Babbitt.
Nobody was killed. And you look at what's going on now with these terrorists. These are terrorists, and that's an organized event. You know, take a look at their signs. Take a look. They're all made by the same sign company. A nice, expensive job.
Soros.
Now, these are the people
Soros
that
sign company
are, in my opinion, in just as big a trouble as the people that are setting the match and setting the fires. So we'll see. It's under very serious investigation by the FBI and by the Justice Department. These people are terrorists.
Mr. President, you mentioned a deal with Ukraine.
Mr. President, what do you say to American military families who are seeing Elon Musk at the Pentagon today, are hearing about Defense Department cuts, and their thoughts are immediately going to the safety of their loved ones who are currently deployed?
Well, we're making our country strong. And when they see a thing like that and they hear that story about Elon and China, what they should do is realize that the New York Times is a corrupt institution, because I think they're the ones. They knew that story wasn't true. Nobody believed that story. People that, when I first called, they laughed when they heard this story. Nobody believed it, that the Pentagon was giving him a briefing on what war with China would look like, and he has business in. No, they made that up because it's a good story to make up. They're very dishonest people. I have it with the Times. and you'll see more and more of it. To me, it's a very, very dishonest organization. But a story like that is made up. It's total fiction. And I just wanted to make sure. I called up Chief of Staff and I called up Pete. And I said, is there any truth to that? Absolutely not.
Called him up, got on the phone. He loves the
China.
phone. He loves the phone.
And if you ever mentioned China, I think he'd walk out of the room. He wouldn't take it anyway. So it's just a made-up story.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure one of Tesla's largest manufacturing plants is literally in China, but okay.
Nobody's taken better care of the military. One of the things that I know that Pete's doing is he's talking about a lot of the civilian staff, and we're going to get them other jobs. You know, we're going to have a lot of jobs in this country, but we don't want to have wasteful jobs. We want to have meaningful jobs. And those were wasteful jobs. Those are jobs that not only
bullshit
military,
jobs,
but jobs where people don't show up. You take a look at Department of Education. I've never seen so many buildings with the names on it. You go past one after another Department of Education, and they're empty. The people don't show up. You know why? Because they have other jobs. Because they're playing golf.
Oh my
they're
God.
playing something.
Golf.
They're doing something. And we have a lot of great people, but we have to move that back to the States. We're going to make our country strong, and we're going to get people much better jobs, because we have companies moving into our country, the likes of which we've never seen before. Nothing like this has happened. And it's automatic. They don't want to pay the tariffs. How do you avoid paying the tariffs?
Okay, wait. I don't remember what I thought about this in my last Factorio playthrough. Okay, quick video game break. I thought belting gears was good because it takes 2 iron plates to create 1 gear. So you're compressing something and putting it on a belt. The only way that it could not be good is if you locally produce gears everywhere they're needed, and you can produce more than I don't know. Why do some people say it's not good because almost everything that requires gears also needs plates? Why? I'm trying to think. The only way that you wouldn't belt gears is if you could produce gears on site. No, you should always produce gears, or you should belt them. Nah, fuck you guys. Belting gears is fine. No, you're wrong. Fuck you.
You build your plant in the United States, and it's a beautiful thing to see. I see it. So far, I would say $4 trillion. Nobody's ever heard of them. No country's ever heard of numbers like that. $4 trillion, and those are the best ones. The biggest, best chip maker in the world. I'm not a fan of the CHIP Act, where you give billions of dollars away to companies that don't need it, and it won't bring them here. I'm giving nothing away. All they're doing is coming here. They're building because they want to avoid. Remember this on the tariffs, too, because that's going to be, Liberation Day, April 2nd.
Liberation Day. Oh, God.
It's reciprocal. If they charge us, we charge them. So somebody say, well, how much are the tariffs? Very fair. If
that's how
India,
much they're
as an example, has been very bad to us on tariffs. They charge 100%, 200%, whatever they charge. Now, Europe just announced they're lowering the tariffs on cars. We charge like a joke, 2.5%. That's what this country charges. Europe just announced that they're reducing their tariffs on cars to 2.5%. It's nice. But they also have non-monetary tariffs where they make it impossible for the cars to get in even without the dollars on them and the dollar signs. It's called a non-monetary tariff, where they put on controls where no matter what happens, because they don't want cars, they don't want the American car in their market. And yet they send us millions of cars. They send us big agriculture. They don't want our agriculture. They don't want anything from us.
Not big
European
agriculture.
Union's very tough. But now it's fair. So whatever they do to us, we do to them.
Mr. President, last month you mentioned
as Russia continues to attack Ukraine, are you planning to impose any sort of sanctions?
Well, they're fighting against each other. Yeah, I think we're going to have. We have a ceasefire on a lot of areas, and so far that's all held very well. And getting that ceasefire, they had a lot of guns pointing at each other. We had some soldiers, unfortunately, surrounded.
Is there a place to see all the tariffs on all other countries? Like, is it public knowledge? What is a tariff? Well, so the issue is that Trump is speaking, he's like 5% correct, but 95% missing the point. It's not really as simple as just saying there is a tariff, right? Because let's say, for instance, let's say that I produce widgets and a country above me produces digits, okay? And I import digits and export widgets, and we're doing that. And then let's say that they start producing widgets, okay? Well, I'm a widget manufacturing specialist. I can make widgets at for $5 a piece. Their widgets cost $10 a piece. They're a digit maker, not a widget maker. Well, none of their domestic population is going to buy their digits because they're going to buy my widget, or buy their widgets because my widgets are half the cost. Well, what could that other country do? Well, they could say, well, we're going to put a 200% tariff on American widgets. So now their $5 widgets are $15, okay? Fuck them. $15 widgets, right? Well, then you go, okay, well, fuck you. I'm retaliatory tariffing you guys, and now we're going to make our own digits, and fuck it, and now everybody's going to be fucked, right? Well, the other country could say, okay, well, our widgets are costing $10 to make. America's widgets cost $5 to make. What if we provide a special tax exemption for widget manufacturers that make it so that their labor is cheaper, and so that we subsidize parts of their business, and now they can produce widgets for $4? Well, in that case, I found a way to undercut American production with my domestic widget manufacturing without technically levying a tariff, but I'm doing it through local subsidies. So there is a way like that. And when Trump says they're doing non-monetary tariffs or whatever, I think that's what Trump is referring to, or somebody told him this, and this is what he's referring to. These are things that you work out, though, as part of a bilateral or multilateral trade agreement. What are fair subsidies to have in your markets? And there are other ways, by the way, that you can combat foreign manufacturers as well. So for instance, and usually you would go to the World Trade Organization to fight these things. I know there was a fight where Canada's government outlawed a certain type of lumber or oil or something. They outlawed something, and the product or the manufacturing process that they outlawed only affected a single company. It was an American company. And I think America, or I think maybe that company, went to the WTO and tried to sue Canada and say, you can't pass this environmental regulation. Literally only affects us. This is bullshit. And obviously Canada says it's our country. We can regulate whatever we want. I don't remember what the outcome of that case was, but this is what you're kind of talking about, that there are ways to subsidize parts of your production that aren't necessarily tariffs, but they can make foreign manufacturing non-competitive. But these are all things that you work out as part of a trade agreement and part of a trade deal. There are good reasons and there are bad reasons why you might subsidize certain things, but you should work this out as part of a trade deal. You don't just start tariffing. Is like tariffing is like you come home and your wife never cleans all the cans off her desk, and she always has like 5 or 6 or 7 or 10 dirty dishes or cans on her desk every day. And you're like, okay, I don't like this. This is unacceptable. When I come home from work tomorrow, I'm going to bring home one of our work hammers and I'm going to start hitting her in the head until she fixes this desk bullshit because I don't like the trash laying around the house. People would say, okay, sure, that's like a legitimate problem to have, but that solution is probably not the correct solution for the glasses on the table, the hammer to the head strategy. This is what the tariff thing is. If you don't like the way that Canada is subsidizing certain parts of their market or has protectionary tariffs if certain quotas are met, which is how the Canadian tariffs work. It's only when certain quotas are met to protect their own domestic manufacturing capabilities for products like dairy, then you work these out as part of a trade negotiation, which we already have, which was part of the U.S., Mexico, Canada trade agreement. We already had these things worked out. These are where these Canadian tariffs come from. They were part of this agreement. So that's when you would work it out.
By other soldiers, and they are going to be, I believe we're going to pretty soon have a full ceasefire, and then we're going to have a contract. And the contract's being negotiated, the contract in terms of dividing up the lands, et cetera, it's being negotiated as we speak.
What do you say to critics who say that your actions towards law firms amount to coercion?
Well, the law firms all want to make deals. You mean the law firms that we're going after, that went after?
Yes, Trump. That's called coercion. That is, people do want to make deals when you coerce them. Correct. Yeah.
To me for 4 years, ruthlessly, violently, illegally. I mean, are those the law firms you're talking about? They're not babies. They're very sophisticated people. Those law firms did bad things. They went after me for years. Russia hoax. All a hoax. It was a hoax. It was Hunter Biden's laptop. It didn't come out of Russia, by the way. It was came out of his bedroom. It was all a hoax, developed by Democrats. Hillary I don't think Biden did, because I don't think Biden knows what the hell he's doing, frankly, based on everything I see. I've seen things since being here that are so sad. What
Seen
he's
things
done
that
to
you
this
wouldn't
country.
believe.
What he and they did to this country, those people that surrounded him, who, by the way, are radical left but smart. He's not smart. He was never smart. But these are radical left, smart people. They totally controlled him. He did whatever they told him to do. And it's a shame. It's so sad to see what happened, what they've done to this country, both not only the inflation you saw, but allowing millions and millions of criminals into our country. That's an inexcusable act. And many other things besides that. Thank you very
Mr.
much.
President, can we talk one more question on Ukraine? Why do you want to control Ukraine's power plants, sir?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Get out of here. Okay.